The plane had not yet left the ground, but the moment that would change 3 lives forever had already begun its quiet unfold. Leia, barely 3 years old, sat in a cramped economy seat with her tiny legs tucked neatly beneath her. Morning light filtered through half-closed window shades, casting a pale glow across her soft curls. She held a bunny-shaped cookie tin in her lap, her fingers tracing its edges as though she were smoothing the ears of a real friend. Beside her, Nathaniel Vance, CEO, father, widower, read the financial section with the intensity of a surgeon studying an X-ray. His knee tapped sharply, rhythmically, as though each second wasted cost him money. They should have been in first class, but a last-minute change had pushed them to coach. He hadn't complained. He rarely did. Emotion was something he outsourced long ago. Leia didn't mind the noise, or the cramped seat, or the cold stiffness of her father's silence. She was used to being invisible while he worked. He never scolded her, but he never reached for her either. She had learned to be good, quiet, easy to overlook. She kept her bunny tin close, holding on to the single heart-shaped cookie she always saved, not for later, but for someone worth sharing it with. She looked at the empty window seat and whispered a wish in her head. Maybe someone nice will sit here. Someone warm. Someone like a mommy. The engines hummed, announcements crackled, and passengers shuffled down the aisle with half-closed eyes and half-open coffees. Then she appeared. A woman carrying a baby, her coat thin, her hair loosely tied, her face lined with fatigue but softened by something unmistakable, gentleness. She slipped into the window seat, whispering a quiet excuse, settling her baby against her chest. The scent of baby lotion drifted through the air. She hummed a lullaby, barely audible over the hum of the cabin. Leia didn't blink. The melody wrapped around her like sunlight through curtains, like something she had heard once, long ago, but could not name. She opened her cookie tin. She lifted the heart-shaped cookie with both hands. Then she turned to the woman. Her voice was a whisper, trembling with a fragile hope no child should have to feel. If I share my cookie, will you stay? The woman froze, startled, touched, confused. Her eyes shifted to Nathaniel, who was still buried in his paper and had not noticed that his daughter had offered a piece of her heart to a stranger. Then she looked into Leia's wide, earnest eyes. Is that for me? She said softly. Leia nodded. You sing like a mommy. The woman's throat tightened. She accepted the cookie with both hands, as though the child had offered her something sacred. Then I'll stay, she promised. That was how Haley entered their world. During the hour-long delay on the tarmac, Haven's small cries rose and fell like waves. Haley fed her, rocked her, soothed her with the patience earned from a life of doing everything alone. And Leia, quiet, obedient, self-contained Leia, curled against her as though she had finally found a safe place to rest. Nathaniel watched. Something unfamiliar moved inside him, something uncomfortable and tender all at once. Silence had not meant peace, he realized. It had meant absence. When the plane landed and they stepped into the dim hush of Denver Airport near midnight, Leia clung to Haley's hand as though it were the only warm thing in the world. And when Nathaniel offered Haley a ride, she refused with dignity. Until Leia looked up and said softly, Mommy's tired. Can't we help her like she helped me? It was the first time Nathaniel felt his heart break, not from loss, but from recognition. He insisted. She accepted. And during the quiet ride through the sleeping city, while Haley cradled Haven and Leia nestled against her, Nathaniel saw something profound in the rear-view mirror. His daughter smiled. Not politely. Not cautiously. But like a child who felt safe. As the days passed, something fragile but real took shape. Nathaniel began noticing things he had long trained himself not to see. The way Leia sought softness. The way Haley held both girls with effortless calm. The way silence was no longer frightening when filled with presence. He offered help. Haley declined. He offered again. She declined again. Not out of pride, but because she had learned that help was often temporary, conditional, rehearsed. Then came the day of her job interview. The childcare center was full. She had no one to leave Haven with. She had no backup. Still, she went. She walked into the lobby, and froze. Nathaniel sat waiting calmly with Haven strapped to his chest, swaying awkwardly, humming off-key while Leia giggled at his attempts. "We'll wait here," he said simply. "Take your time." Haley didn't know how to breathe for a moment. No one had ever shown up for her just because they wanted to, not for convenience, not for appearance, not for obligation. Her interview ended in 15 minutes. But something else had begun. From that day forward, small, tender rituals grew between the four of them. A picnic in the park. Cookies broken into halves. Crayon drawings of four figures, one tall man, one long-haired woman holding a baby, one little girl smiling big. That was when Nathaniel felt something shift. He didn't feel replaced. He felt taught. Haley hadn't taken his place. She had shown him how to earn it. Then came Tuesday morning. The call from the board. "Nathaniel, we want you in Singapore. 6 months." It was the opportunity of a lifetime. But when he hung up, the apartment felt wrong. Cold. Too quiet. He looked at a photo Haley sent earlier, Haven asleep on her chest, Leia curled against her, holding half a cookie. "We found some sunshine." He saved the photo, then stared at it for hours. He didn't tell her. He didn't know how. He only knew the thought of leaving scraped something raw inside him. Days passed. The decision sat like weight in his chest. Until the night Leia appeared at his door, clutching Mr. Marshmallow Bear. "I brushed my teeth," she said. He smiled. "Good job, sweetheart." But she didn't move. She stood there, small and trembling. "Are we going away?" she whispered. His breath caught. "I heard you on the phone about Singapore." She swallowed. "If we go, will she still stay?" Her voice cracked. And something inside Nathaniel finally broke open. He knelt down, cupping her tiny shoulders. He wanted to say the right words, but they tangled in his throat. She looked at him, eyes shimmering. "Daddy. I like when she stays. I like when you stay too." He closed his eyes. He wanted to say it. He wanted to tell her everything. That he didn't want to leave. That he didn't want distance to steal the only warmth their lives had found. That he didn't want a future where Haley was a memory and Leia's quiet blossoming folded back into silence. He lifted her into his arms. "We're not going anywhere," he said at last, voice firm, certain, the truest thing he had spoken in years. "Not if it means losing what we found." The next morning, he arrived at Haley's door just as she was stepping out with Haven. She looked startled. "Nathaniel. Is everything okay?" He took a breath. "I turned down the Singapore offer." She blinked. "Why?" "Because," he paused, gathering breath, courage, truth. "Because staying here feels more right than anything I've done in a long time." She stood very still. Nathaniel stepped closer. "I want to stay where my daughter is finally smiling. Where she feels safe. And, if you'll let me, I want to stay where you are too." Haley's lips parted, her breath catching gently. Her eyes softened, warmed, filled. "You're sure?" she whispered. He nodded. "I've never been more sure." Haley exhaled shakily and stepped forward, not into his arms, but into his life. Leia peeked around Nathaniel's leg and grinned. "Does this mean you'll stay for cookies forever?" Haley laughed, tears glimmering. "As long as you need me to." Nathaniel wrapped an arm around his daughter, around Haley, around the small circle of warmth that had once been a distant hope. For the first time in years, he felt something settle quietly inside him. Home? It wasn't a place. It was a choice. A choice to stay. A choice to show up. A choice to finally be present. And as Haley leaned her head against his arm and Haven slept peacefully in her carrier, Nathaniel knew one thing with absolute certainty.